The world fractures in a flash of pink, a life violently cut short. Meanwhile, an ordinary life continues, a delivery driver rushing up a grimy stairwell. Hunted and terrified, a shadowy figure flees through the woods, lasers painting its path. A scream of pure fire erupts, a being consumed by its own inferno. A casual greeting is offered from a cage where powerful players gather. Pure, unadulterated fear fills his eyes, his silence bought with piercing currency. Welcome to a crimson nightmare, where a smiling mask oversees a legion of the damned, and you thought your upstairs neighbors were loud. The delivery drivers pulled into a void, an endless gauntlet of pale, grasping limbs. And in the aftermath, a man confronts the monster he's become. A delivery job becomes the first chapter of a bloody thriller. A terrified boy is thrown into a chaotic adventure by a mysterious stranger. The world explodes into a blue-tinted frenzy of violent action. Welcome to the Jianghu, a brutal world of fighters and strange creatures. A crew of strange and deadly warriors surveys the aftermath. The boy's mind races, fearing they are fighting actual ghosts. His companion leans in with a chilling, almost playful warning. He glances back, seeing two more mysterious figures watching from the rooftops. And just like that, another one bites the dust. Literally. The truth is revealed in a flash of light, a horde of hungry ghouls. The ghoul hunt is over, but the horror lingers in this cold, tiled corridor. They find what the ghouls were guarding, a door plastered with containment seals. But the seals are torn, the heavy door already breached from the inside. Whatever was locked away in this place is now terrifyingly free. Elsewhere, a different crew in sharp suits moves with grim purpose. They hunt for a target that lurks just out of sight, a figure cloaked in red. Their search leads them to an ornate crimson coffin, humming with dark energy. With careful gloved hands, they prepare to unseal the ancient tomb. A prophecy echoes, promising that what was lost is not gone forever. Inside lies a pale, dormant being, destined to one day return. A life ends with a final bloody sigh, leaving behind nothing but a scarlet stain on the world. Meanwhile, across the rain-slicked city, the night is still young. Down below, the world is just a blur of motion and light. And weaving through it all is a delivery driver defying gravity itself. His destination is a rundown building in a forgotten corner of the city. The final leg of the journey is a climb up a familiar, grimy stairwell. He carries his cargo, just another late-night meal for a hungry customer. Meet Zhang Jia, an 18-year-old who calls himself an outstanding delivery boy. But even the outstanding get winded climbing all the way to the 8th floor. He reaches the door, triumphant and ready to complete his mission. The door creaks open, a sliver of light cutting through the gloom. But his welcome is a complaint from a very hungry, very unhappy customer. The threat of a bad review hangs in the air, a delivery driver's worst nightmare. A hand moves with desperate speed, trying to stop the inevitable. Zhang Jia pleads his case, blaming the pouring rain for the delay. He bows low, offering compliments and promising a free dessert next time. His eyes are wide with panic, begging for a little bit of mercy. The customer finally relents, and our boy breathes a sigh of relief. He knows an outstanding person can submit when the time calls for it. He leaves with a final grumble, only to be called back for a forgotten straw. The city is a blur of neon and rain as he rejoins the other night riders. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking his work is finally done for the night. But a fellow driver pulls up, asking how his day has been. Zhang Jia explains he has one last, dreaded order to complete. The task is to haul 2 massive water bottles for a pitifully small tip. The 5-liter jugs look more like anchors than refreshments. But our boy is a professional, sprinting toward the building with his heavy cargo. He's stopped at the entrance by a man asking for his destination. The receipt reveals the final horror. Unit 1801, the 18th floor. Zhang Jia shouts he'll be right back, dashing into the rainy night. But the man at the entrance is troubled, recalling the destination, Unit 1801. He looks up at the towering apartment block, a sense of dread washing over him. Inside the elevator, a finger confidently presses the button for the 18th floor. Zhang Jia leans against the wall, exhausted and just wanting the job to be over. But a closer look at the receipt reveals a critical mistake. The address is for the 16th floor. He's far too tired to notice, his mind already focused on going home to sleep. As the elevator climbs past the 17th floor, the man at the desk seems to remember something awful. The display hits 18, confirming the delivery driver has gone to the wrong floor. The doors slide open, and Zhang Jia stands ready to step out into the unknown. He glances out, his long night almost at its end. But the man at the desk recalls a chilling detail. This floor is unoccupied. The old metal gate groans open, revealing the darkness beyond. Jangjia peers out, a flicker of confusion on his face. He steps into a place that's been sealed off for nearly a decade. And for a moment, his eyes seem to burn with an unnatural light. The truth is, he's just stepped into a private, high-rise graveyard. A place of sealed doors, prayer candles, and rumored hidden treasures. Downstairs, the man at the desk puts the horrifying pieces together. Our boy is in the one place he was never, ever supposed to be. He stands before Unit 1801, the wrong address on a floor he should have never visited. He calls out, announcing the delivery to the supposedly empty apartment. But he hesitates, realizing the door isn't locked. It's already slightly ajar. He pushes it open, his greeting met with the sight of a bloody handprint on the lock. He looks down into a room littered with the bodies of fallen men. The scene is a grim tableau of a violent, one-sided struggle. And scattered among the dead, he sees the prize they fought for, bars of gold. But from the darkness, an eye snaps open, burning with an unnatural glow. His mind shatters, the shock sending his heavy cargo tumbling to the floor. Survival instinct kicks in, and Jangjia bolts down the hallway without a second thought. He scrambles for the elevator, his mind screaming at the murder scene he just witnessed. He frantically mashes the button, but the elevator is still stuck on the first floor. Sweat pours down his face, his eyes wide with the kind of terror that freezes you solid. He fumbles for his phone, his hands shaking as he tries to dial for help. His only thought is to call the police, a desperate attempt to escape this nightmare. He collapses against the wall, shouting into the phone, trying to will a connection into existence. But the screen confirms his worst fear. No signal. Of course there's no signal. Trapped and alone, he claws at the elevator gate, his pleas echoing in the empty hall. His voice becomes a desperate whisper, a prayer for anyone to save him. But then a faint cough comes from the room, and he realizes someone is still alive in there. Jangja's mind races, caught between raw terror and a flicker of conscience. A weak voice whispers from the darkness, a desperate plea for help. He turns back to the elevator, his only escape slowly climbing to his floor. As the doors prepare to open, he makes his choice, whispering an apology. But the plea echoes again, a haunting reminder of the life he's abandoning. His face twists with guilt, the weight of his cowardice crushing him. The elevator doors slide open, offering a path to safety he can't bring himself to take. In a surge of adrenaline, he makes a new, much more heroic decision. He sprints back down the hall, running toward the danger he just fled. Jangjia stands at the threshold once more, ready to face whatever lies within. He steps back into the carnage, his courage warring with his common sense. His eyes narrow with a newfound resolve, sweat beading on his brow. He pushes deeper into the room, stepping past the very treasure these men died for. Another weak cough echoes from the back of the apartment, drawing him further in. He cautiously peers around a corner, searching for the lone survivor. His face is a mask of terror, but he can't bring himself to turn back now. And then he sees it, not a dying man, but a massive, ornate crimson coffin. It hums with a dark energy, the source of the sounds he's been hearing. His mind struggles to process what he's seeing. A coffin in an abandoned apartment? Sure, why not? With trembling hands, he leans over the edge, peering into the abyss. A pale hand reaches from the darkness, a single, desperate plea echoing from within. Jangja's eyes widen in sheer horror, reflecting the crimson abyss of the coffin. His mind fractures, seeing not a box, but a hellish sea of the damned reaching for him. He screams, scrambling backward as the reality of the situation finally crashes down. All thoughts of heroism are gone. He's back to running for his life through the dark apartment. But his escape is cut short by a new group of very serious-looking men in suits. The leader points, clearly mistaking our boy for someone who has a clue what's going on. Jangjia frantically tries to explain he's just here with the late-night snacks. He insists he knows nothing, that he just stumbled upon this bloody scene. Desperate, he points back toward the coffin, babbling about a child's cry for help. He declared with determination that he came here to save his friend. But suddenly a man in black grabbed him and covered his mouth. The boy's eyes widened in terror as his strength drained away. A sharp crack echoed through his spine. The fatal blow was dealt. His body collapsed lifelessly at the enemy's feet. The cold-blooded killer stared down with an expressionless face. A black shoe pressed against his chest, blood splattering around. The man crushed his throat underfoot, denying him even a final breath. The boy lay in a pool of blood, his hand slipping helplessly aside. From his pocket slipped a gold bar stained with blood. The boy's face lay still as if all life had left him. One thug ordered the place to be cleaned, and the others obeyed. A man in a suit reported over the phone that he had found what he was looking for. In the flashlight's beam, a mysterious red coffin was revealed. A trail of blood and a stained weapon remained on the floor. Men in gloves began preparing the body for disposal. Suddenly, the boy opened his eyes and cursed weakly. He realized he couldn't feel his body. The men in black dragged him toward a bag as if he were dead, but he regained consciousness and whispered, "Wait," as the zipper closed over him. But the men in suits aren't listening, his mind flashing back to another humbling moment. He recalls the weary eyes that stared back from the mirror each morning. He sees the blood-soaked gold that sealed his fate tonight. He remembers the endless struggle, pushing himself through the pouring rain, and the back-breaking delivery that brought him to this very building. In the present, a gloved hand slowly zips up a black jacket. It turns out the old cliché is true. His life is flashing before his eyes. His world shatters into 1,000 broken memories. A lifetime of running, falling, and getting back up again, all ending on a simple, forgotten image from a distant childhood. A faded photograph reflects a memory of a family, a life he barely remembers. But that past shatters, leaving only fragments of a boy lost in the darkness. His consciousness drifts away, a final, peaceful surrender to the end. And then his eyes open, now glowing with a strange, impossible blue light. He finds himself standing in a black void, completely disoriented. His mind screams with questions, trying to grasp what has happened to him. A new wave of panic hits as he realizes he's completely paralyzed. He can only look up, a prisoner in his own body, lost in an endless night. Trapped and terrified, he can do nothing but stare into the abyss. He looks down to find himself barefoot, another bizarre twist in this living nightmare. His shock deepens as a pale hand drifts into his field of vision. He realizes he's not alone in the void, but surrounded by countless pale limbs. A silent, endless forest of disembodied legs stretches into the darkness. The impossible crowd seems to multiply, pressing in from all sides. The camera pulls back, showing Zhang Jia as a tiny figure in this bizarre tableau. His mind struggles to process the surreal, horrifying sight before him. He's trapped in a nightmare populated entirely by feet. This is getting weird. A new presence emerges, a gloved hand delivering a single insistent command. The command becomes a chorus, echoing from the legion of pale figures. He screams in terror and confusion, demanding to know what door they mean. A gloved hand closes around his, pulling him deeper into the nightmare. The grip is like iron, dragging him toward an unknown, terrifying fate. He fights back, his voice a raw plea to be released from this hell. And then, a fire ignites deep within his soul, reflected in his eyes. His body erupts in a violent, uncontrollable inferno of orange and red. A scream of pure agony tears from his throat as he's consumed by the flames. He's trapped in a personal hell, burning from the inside out. The fire becomes his voice, a roar of pain and newfound power. But the scream echoes not in a void, but from a cold metal furnace. And a quiet old man is the sole audience to this private cremation. The old man watches, sensing a strange energy pulsing from within the furnace. He leans closer, his casual demeanor replaced by a dawning sense of alarm. His eyes widen in horror as a charred hand grips the edge of the burning chamber. The furnace erupts, a silhouette of pure rage clawing its way out of the inferno. The heavy steel door is blown open, sending the old man stumbling back in terror. Zhang Jia's body collapses, a smoking corpse with eyes that burn with an unholy light. But this story began earlier, with a group of men running through the night. The same old man leads a crew armed with shovels. Just a casual night out, I guess. He points with grim certainty, convinced they've found what they're looking for. They enter the crematorium, the very place where this nightmare was meant to end. The old man stares at the empty slab, realizing his prize is already gone. Meanwhile, Zhang Jia's mind is thrown back to another night, another desperate hunt. He experiences a memory of falling, of a body breaking down under a violent assault. The original owner of this memory cries out, horrified by his own monstrous transformation. But the vision fractures, showing a different man tripping in those same dark woods. This one looks back in confusion, wondering if he's trapped in a terrible dream. His consciousness is a storm of broken images, a life that clearly isn't his. He sees a hand twisting into a claw, a body consumed by that familiar inferno, and the nightmare vision of the void returns, an endless march of pale, bare feet. But back in the real world, a new player arrives, their headlights cutting through the night. A truck pulls into a darkened warehouse, its headlights cutting through the gloom. A man in sunglasses steps out, theatrically announcing he's brought back the prize. He reports to a stern-faced boss. a man who radiates cold, quiet authority. The crew moves to unload a massive sealed container from the back of the truck. The boss watches with an unreadable expression as his men get to work. His subordinate smirks, his eyes hidden behind the dark reflection of his glasses. Inside the container is the crimson coffin, and the boss gives a simple command to open it. Its surface is a tapestry of blood-red carvings, ancient and deeply unsettling. The vision shifts back to the woods, to the body's original owner, bound and terrified. He touches his face, his blue eyes wide with the shocking realization that he's still alive. His mind struggles to accept it, the impossible reality that he's still alive. The vision flashes back to the moment it all began. Zhang Jia at the door. The memory distorts, the eyes now looking like they belong to a lifeless doll. As the memories swirl, the lid to the crimson coffin is slowly lifted, revealing the pale man inside, trapped and staring up into the darkness. And that haunting command echoes again from the forest of pale limbs. The psychic assault continues, his eyes reflecting pure, unadulterated horror. Back in the coffin, his body finally reacts, racked by a bloody cough. The world dissolves into an omen, a purple sky filled with circling crows. You know, just in case things weren't ominous enough. And watching it all unfold is the man in the red sunglasses, cool as ever. The boss peers into the empty coffin, demanding to know where its contents are. His subordinate seems confused, confirming this is the prize they sought, the gates of hell. The man in sunglasses maintains his cool, almost mocking his boss's concern. But the boss's patience snaps, his fury exploding in a crimson haze. He can't believe the intel was so wrong, that the legendary gates of hell was a mere coffin. The vision returns to the woods, to the original owner of this body's final moments. His memory sinks into a dark abyss, the words gates of hell echoing in the void. The memory leaves behind a single bloody footprint, a mark of his passing. He stumbles through the woods, leaving a trail of blood in the pale dirt. And all these fragmented memories lead back to one place, Unit 1801. The memory flashes to a blade drawn in the heat of a bloody conflict. Back in the warehouse, the men in suits carefully lift the lid of the crimson coffin. A blade slices through the darkness, a memory of a fatal strike. One of the men urges the others to hurry, impatient to see their prize. But a dark red liquid begins to seep from the coffin, pooling on the floor. A crew member looks up, his focus shifting from effort to dawning concern. The crimson stain spreads, a grim omen of what they're about to uncover. It pools next to a bloody handprint, a ghost of the violence that has already passed. And we flash back to that violence as two wounded men stumble through Unit 1801. One of them gasps for air, his life fading amidst the scattered gold. The memory returns to the men in suits standing in the quiet before the storm. Then, a sudden, brutal ambush sends them scrambling in a bloody panic. Their professional calm shatters into screams of pure agony and terror. One survivor tries to flee, begging for his life from the monster at his back. His final desperate plea echoes in the darkness of the apartment. Sometime later, a new player arrives, his hands already wrapped for a fight. He dips a finger into the lingering blood, a grim taste of the violence left behind. He confirms this is the place, noting someone was kind enough to clean up the mess. The man in the red sunglasses begins his own, much quieter investigation. He crouches low, searching for any trace of what truly happened in Unit 1801. He lifts a blood-tipped needle, his focus now on finding what's been lost. The world blurs as someone tears through the darkened woods, and that someone is Zhang Jia, running for a life he didn't even know he had. He leaves a trail of bloody footprints, a stark reminder of his impossible escape. His mind reels, questioning if the horrors he's seen were just a hallucination. But a sound in the darkness snaps him back to the terrifying present. He looks back to see the old man from the crematorium leading a search party. The men grumble, with one blaming Old Lee for not checking if the body was actually dead. Old Lee insists the job was done, claiming the boy's neck was already broken. You know, just a minor workplace disagreement. But Zhang Jia's eyes tell a different story, burning with a life that refuses to be extinguished. The search party pushes deeper into the woods, their flashlights cutting the gloom. Zhang Jia's mind flashes back, the word customer echoing with a new sinister meaning. He realizes the men in suits were the customers Old Lee was working for. The memory is a blur of motion, a chaotic piece of a puzzle he can't solve. He remembers the moment before his death, Old Lee's face looming over him with a false apology. The memory becomes violent, a brutal struggle against Old Lee in these very woods. He relives the sheer terror and pain of being overpowered by the old man. Old Lee whispers a chilling justification. This is about survival, and the boy's life is the price. The old man twists the knife, telling the boy his death is his own fault. Standard HR procedure. His final moments are a silent scream, a desperate fight for a breath that will never come. The memory continues, a desperate, violent struggle in the dark woods. He's knocked to the ground, the world spinning as his attackers close in. But he fights back with everything he has, refusing to go down without a fight. The memory shows him completely surrounded, a lone figure against a mob. Old Lee's crew shouts, determined to capture their cornered prey. Wounded and exhausted, he can only watch as the circle tightens around him. He pleads with them to stay back, a final desperate attempt to reason with them. His mind screams with a single agonizing question: why is this happening? He looks up at the faces of his killers, his eyes reflecting their grim resolve. And with a final bloody cough, the original owner of this body finally falls. The memory continues, the body's original owner broken and bleeding on the forest floor. One of the men hesitates, a flicker of conscience in his eyes. But another reminds him of his debt, a price that must be paid in blood. The man's resolve hardens, his fear replaced by grim necessity. Against a blood-red sky, the crew raises their weapons for the final brutal act. The blue-eyed man offers a final empty apology, promising to burn money for his soul. And with that, they bring their weapons down in a flurry of violent motion. The crew looks on, their faces a grim tableau of men forced to do the unthinkable. But even as they strike, a hand reaches up in one last desperate act of defiance. The memory ends with a final silent image, a life extinguished in the cold, dark woods. But the memory twists as one of the killers suddenly stops, overcome by a strange force. He leaves a single bloody footprint, a sign that the violence is far from over. His eyes are wide with a terror that isn't his own, a puppet on an unseen string. The rest of the crew looks on, their faces frozen in confusion and dawning fear. Then, in a flash of red, one of them turns on his own in a brutal, unexpected attack. Old Lee can only watch in horror as his men begin to tear each other apart. The forest erupts into a symphony of screams as the crew descends into madness. Their leader's pleas are lost in the chaos, a desperate attempt to regain control. So much for Employee of the Month. But a quiet voice cuts through the noise, a chilling whisper right behind him. And he turns to see an eye burning with a hatred that has clearly returned from the grave. The memory continues, the resurrected man standing as the calm center of the storm. He spreads his arms wide, a conductor orchestrating his own bloody revenge. One of the killers screams, his body no longer his own, a puppet in this horror show. The forest floor becomes a canvas of blue-tinted violence and raw agony. The vision fades, leaving Zhang Jia kneeling in the dirt, surrounded by the bloody aftermath. He collapses, the weight of a dead man's memories crushing his mind. His pain is echoed by another memory, a desperate plea from inside the crimson coffin. The two memories merge, revealing the same blue-eyed man, trapped and begging for help. He clutches his face, the impossible truth reflected in that single glowing eye. And we finally see the face of the coffin's original occupant, a being of pale skin and dark secrets. The resurrected man kneels, the calm center of his own bloody revenge. He rises, a skeletal figure fueled by an impossible burning rage. His eyes glow with a chilling blue light, a ghost returned to the living world. The memory dissolves into a symbolic image of a black koi swimming in darkness, and his bloody trail leads from the forest right back to the apartment building, connecting the massacre to the moment Zhang Jia found the crimson coffin. From within its depths, the memory of that desperate plea finally makes sense. The world becomes a distorted prison, seen through a single, trapped blue eye. A flicker of consciousness in the abyss, a soul refusing to be contained. The vision ends on a strange omen, two crossed needles sealing a dark fate. The vision shifts again to a pair of calm, dark eyes staring into the void. They see a dark, endless archive, a place where souls are stored and forgotten. A crimson bell tolls, summoning a memory of a dark and bloody ritual, and the calm shatters, replaced by tears and a dawning, inescapable horror. A pale hand is bound, its skin marked with cryptic, bloody runes. The body is a canvas for an ancient, unspeakable ceremony. Their feet are tied, trapped in the center of this unholy rite. A circle of blood and candlelight seals them within their prison. The walls are plastered with talismans, meant to contain whatever is inside. The prisoner strains against their bonds, a silent scream etched on their face. And this is the result. A man crucified, his body a canvas for their dark magic. A shadowy observer looks on, seemingly impressed by the grim spectacle. The prisoner's eyes are wide with terror, his face a mask of disbelief. The vision shifts to a game of mahjong and a hand that can only be called a miracle. And we see the players, a strange crew gathered for a game in this dark place. The man in the pink sunglasses watches with a cool, unsettling confidence. His companion is a woman with a sharp gaze and an even sharper haircut. Across from them sits a man in pajamas, his prosthetic hand a stark crimson. And the fourth player, the one who just won, seems lost in his own thoughts. But the vision returns to the prisoner, his beard a chain of ancient, cursed coins. Talk about being bought and paid for. The man in pink sunglasses watches the prisoner struggle, his muffled pleas lost behind a beard of coins. He seems to have a sudden realization, a spark of an idea in this grim setting. With a casual apology, he walks over and rips the coin gag from the prisoner's face. The prisoner chokes, his mouth filled with what looks like hundreds of tiny white pellets. He spits them out in a disgusting torrent, a flood of whatever they forced him to eat. The man in pajamas calmly explains it's just sticky rice, part of a cleansing ritual, standard spa treatment. But the prisoner's face is a mask of sweat and terror, clearly not feeling very cleansed. His vision fractures, his mind screaming in panic as he pleads his innocence to his captors. He looks down in horror at the bloody runes covering his skin, but the players just tell him to relax. He's a living canvas for their dark ritual, bound and marked for some unknown purpose. The woman with the sharp haircut offers a chilling, almost playful threat. Her gaze is cold and sharp, promising a world of pain. The prisoner can only stare back, his mind completely broken by the ordeal. The man in pink sunglasses breaks the silence with a simple, chilling question. His eyes are wide with a terror that has no words. He asks what Zhang Jia was doing in that apartment the night before. Wait, Zhang Jia? The prisoner insists he was only there to deliver a late-night meal. The fourth player finally speaks, asking who else was in the apartment. He frantically explains the room was filled with bodies, swearing he had nothing to do with it. The woman listens to his plea, her expression unreadable and cold. He continues his story, his eyes wide with the memory of what he found. He tells them about the ornate crimson coffin humming with dark energy. And inside that coffin, he stammers, was a child crying out for help. The man in the pink sunglasses listens, his expression unreadable. The man in pajamas points his crimson prosthetic, a silent accusation. He asks if Zhang Jia was the one who took both the coffin and the child. Zhang Jia screams his innocence, reminding them they're the ones who killed him. The woman reveals the men from the woods were all staff at the local funeral parlor, a crew that moonlights in illegal body disposal, for extra cash. She explains they're the go-to cleanup crew for the local mafias. She reveals the men in suits from the apartment were the real mafia. The man with the crimson hand asks how a delivery boy managed to anger them. The woman concludes the mafia took the coffin, and Zhang Jia can only guess that's what happened. But the fourth player, the quiet one at the table, calmly disagrees. He holds up the needle from the crime scene, explaining its ancient, impossible origin. The man in pink sunglasses drops a bombshell. The child may be 300 years old. He wonders who would unearth such a thing and hide it on an abandoned floor, but the quiet player insists the truth is far more complicated than that. Zhang Jia is completely lost, his mind reeling from their cryptic conversation. The man in pajamas turns the accusation back on him, asking if he's the one who released it. Zhang Jia's eyes widen, his mind fracturing under the weight of their questions. A memory flashes, a single command echoing from the darkness of the coffin. He remembers looking down, a hand reaching for him from the crimson abyss. He can almost feel the sweat on his face, the terror of that moment returning, and the desperate plea that pulled him deeper into the nightmare. His memory shows his own hands gripping the edge of that unholy box. He was the one who stood at the threshold, the one who opened the coffin. And in that moment, his eyes glowing blue, he gave a single fateful answer. The vision shifts to the coffin's original occupant, a stitched-up husk lying dormant. A pale, sleeping face, the source of all this chaos and bloodshed. He remembers leaning over the coffin, a delivery boy at the gates of hell. A memory flashes of a needle sealing the dormant being's fate. And then those impossible blue eyes opened, staring up from the abyss. The vision hits Zhang Jia like a physical blow, his own eyes wide with terror. The image of the crossed needles returns, a symbol of a broken seal. In his mind, he wasn't just opening a box, he was opening a door to damnation. His scream echoes in the present, but the quiet player remains perfectly calm. The man's gaze is intense, dissecting every word of Zhang Jia's story. The man in pajamas accuses him of lying, but Zhang Jia can only plead his innocence. But the quiet player simply picks up a tile, ready to make his move. He states their new mission: capture the being from the coffin and do it fast. He then calmly declares victory in their game, a stark contrast to Zhang Jia's mounting terror. The man in pajamas questions if they're really the ones for a job this strange. But the man in pink sunglasses reassures him with a confident smirk. They are professionals, after all. The word echoes in Zhang Jia's mind, a hollow promise in this house of horrors. He breaks down, begging these so-called professionals to let him go, promising his silence. But the quiet player turns back with a simple, chilling apology. The man in pink sunglasses explains they can't let him go. He's now a very important specimen. He leans in, a predatory smile playing on his lips as he continues his explanation. He explains that a boy who can survive death is far too dangerous to be allowed to roam free. The man in pink sunglasses announces he's found his target in the dark woods. A closer look reveals a gaping black void where an eye should be. He holds the same ancient needle from the apartment, ready to finish the job. But something goes wrong, a psychic jolt reflecting in his stunned eyes. A massive, shadowy force erupts, sending him flying back in a storm of violence. The forest floor is torn apart, splattered with the blood of the sudden attack. But he's back on his feet, a confident smirk on his face. So much for a quick capture. He moves with impossible speed, his hands now claws as he engages the creature. But he's not fighting one creature, he's surrounded by an entire pack of them. He seems delighted by the challenge, calling this a fresh hunt as the chaos unfolds. He continues his explanation, his hand twisting into a monstrous claw. He offers a mock apology as he tears through one of the shadowy beasts. His grip is like iron, a stark contrast to his casual demeanor. He explains that letting something this powerful roam free is simply not an option. The memory of the forest massacre flashes, a scene of brutal, inhuman strength. Because a being like that, he concludes, would only bring chaos to the world. Zhang Jia's eyes are wide with terror, realizing they're talking about him. The woman leans in, offering a chillingly specific warning about what they'll do next. His mind flashes back to the bloody footprints he left in the woods. He screams, finally connecting his escape to the resurrected man's bloody trail. The man in pink sunglasses leans in, a smug smile playing on his lips. He explains they are a special kind of cleanup crew, dealing with broken seals and dark things. With their game of mahjong concluded, the team prepares to move out. The quiet player is the true leader, his mind already focused on the hunt. A spectral crow with a burning red eye gives the signal to begin the mission. The quiet player confirms their target. The child has finally been located. As they leave, the man in pajamas is already worried about their next game night. Priorities. But Zhang Jia calls out, a forgotten loose end in their little interrogation. The man in pink sunglasses casually orders the woman Gong Ling to bury him. And the last thing Zhang Jia sees is the shadow of his own impending doom. The full moon hangs in the sky, a silent witness to the night's horrors. It watches over the city and the building where this nightmare began. A memory flashes of a hand open and reaching for something lost. But that memory is replaced by the grip of a killer, holding a bloody blade. Someone stands over the aftermath, their shoes reflecting the grim scene. They turn and walk away, leaving only bloodstains on the cold floor. A fist clenches against the city lights, a promise of pain delivered. And on the ground lies the result, a body surrounded by a halo of blood. Elsewhere, a pale man with glowing eyes announces he's found his target. Well, he looks friendly. As the hunt continues, the sky over the forest turns a foreboding shade of purple. A pale foot with black nails steps onto the cold, hard ground. The creature's silhouette is a blur of desperate, frantic motion. It collapses under the shadow of a forgotten landmark, a weak cough echoing in the silence. Back in the interrogation room, Zhang Jia gasps, his mind reeling from their threats. He begs for his life, promising to do anything they ask if they just let him live. But the man in pink sunglasses just offers a predatory, knowing smile. Zhang Jia asks in confusion, questioning their plans to bury his body. The woman Gong Ling turns to him, her expression cold and final. She clarifies their intentions. They're only burying his head. Well, that's an HR policy I haven't heard of. And Zhang Jia's world shatters, his eyes reflecting pure, unadulterated horror. A flash of violent motion as Gong Ling prepares to deliver the final blow. Zhang Jia screams, pleading for his life with every ounce of his being. He stammers, trying to find the one thing that will stop his execution. In a desperate gambit, he claims he hid the child, and they'll never find it without him. The quiet player and the man in pink sunglasses pause, his words finally getting their attention. The man in pink sunglasses demands to know the location, his voice cutting through the tension. Zhengzha's mind races, trying to invent a lie that will save his skin. The quiet player listens, the spectral crow on his shoulder a silent, ominous judge. But Gong Ling isn't buying it, dismissing his desperate plea as nonsense. His face contorts in terror, realizing his one bargaining chip might not be enough. But Gong Ling's final blow is stopped by a single gloved hand. The man in pink sunglasses considers the possibility that this terrified kid is actually telling the truth. Zhengzha seizes the moment, swearing his honesty with the desperation of a man on the edge. A hand reaches out, not to strike, but to offer a temporary and very conditional truce. He's told this is just a postponement of his fate. He's still their property. The ritualistic bonds are loosened, the bloody runes a stark reminder of his captivity. Now unbound, Zhengzha is given a simple warning. Don't even think about running. But his eyes tell a different story, a silent scream trapped behind a mask of compliance. He's led from his prison, a temporary member of this strange and deadly crew. They walk through a hall of sealed urns, a library of contained horrors. He looks back, his mind still reeling from the interrogation and his narrow escape from death. Gong Ling leads him forward, a prisoner escorted through their grim headquarters. The quiet player and his companion approach a heavy wooden door, leading them out into the night. Sweat beads on Zhengzha's face, his apprehension growing with every step. They step out from the archive, not into a city street, but an ancient open courtyard. The camera pulls back to reveal a massive, traditional estate hidden deep within the woods. Its ornate roofs cut a dark silhouette against the night sky, a place untouched by time. The entire compound is silent and imposing, a secret world hidden from sight. Zhengzha's eyes widen in disbelief, trying to comprehend this impossible place. He demands to know where he is, and his captors offer a deeply unhelpful welcome. They reveal the name of this hidden fortress, Lisong Temple. Zhengzha stares up at the ancient structure, the name echoing in his mind. His brain short-circuits, realizing their secret base is a public tourist attraction. The quiet player, now in simple robes, gestures for the rest of the crew to follow. The man with the crimson hand lets out a massive yawn, clearly unimpressed. He decides hunting ancient evils is too much work and heads off to bed. Priorities, I guess. The man in pink sunglasses tells Zhengzha it's time to go, and our boy has little choice but to agree. The quiet player is addressed by a new name, Xiaoye, as he prepares to lead the mission. He's given a final instruction. Don't act unless it's a true emergency. But as Zhengzha takes a step, Gong Ling calls for them to halt, her eyes fixed on his feet. He's still covered in bloody runes, but his main concern is finding some clothes. The crew stares back, their expressions a mix of boredom and mild annoyance. The ancient temple looms over them, its dark architecture hiding countless secrets. The quiet player tosses down a simple robe with an almost dismissive apology. He eagerly puts on the robe, but his mind is already focused on what truly matters. His eyes narrow with a secret resolve, a plan forming behind his terrified expression. He realizes he's finally outside, his mind already plotting the perfect moment to run. But his escape plan hits a snag as Gong Ling gestures toward a waiting van. The side of the van bears a simple, almost ironic name for their little operation. Inside, the man in pink sunglasses lays out the plan. Zhengzha will lead them to his prize. As the van cuts through the dark woods, Zhengzha's mind is already racing. His eyes dart to the side, a desperate plan already taking shape. He realizes a moving vehicle offers a better chance of escape than their fortress. As they head down the mountain, he knows his window of opportunity is closing. He just needs one moment, his hand hovering over the door handle. And in a burst of adrenaline, he throws the door open and leaps into the night. He tumbles down the steep embankment as his captors scream for him to stop. He hits the ground hard, the impact jarring but not enough to slow him down. Scrambling to his feet, he sprints into the forest, a triumphant grin on his face. But back in the van, the man in pink sunglasses just offers a knowing, confident smirk. But Zhengzha's mind is still working, believing his escape is going perfectly to plan. He's just waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity to present itself. But his plan didn't account for Gong Ling driving like a getaway driver in a heist movie. He's thrown around the back of the van, his composure cracking under the sheer speed. The van finally slows as they enter the neon glow of the city. He grabs his captor's arm, feigning a question while plotting his next move. As he sees people on the street, he realizes a new opportunity has arrived. He presses his face to the glass, screaming for help with all his might. His desperate cries catch the attention of a group of very large, very concerned citizens. The men shout back, promising to help and demanding the van pull over immediately. Zhang Jia smirks, convinced his plan to attract public attention is working perfectly. But his brilliant escape strategy didn't account for a severe case of motion sickness. He begs them to stop the van, his stomach churning from Gongling's driving. They pull over just in time for him to empty his stomach on the side of the road. Gongling worries he'll throw up the ritual items, but her partner isn't concerned. The man in pink sunglasses coolly reminds her that with him here, there's nothing to fear. As Zhang Jia struggles, Gongling wonders if he's truly reverted to being human. Her partner confirms it with a knowing smile, his eyes fixed on their specimen. The scene shifts to a dark, misty forest, a place far from the city lights. And we see their true target, a pale, emaciated creature receiving a grim apology. The man in pink sunglasses delivers a chillingly casual threat to his target. The creature collapses, its body dissolving into shadow as it whispers in disbelief. For a moment, its features soften, a fleeting glimpse of the person it once was. Back in the present, he questions Gongling's decision to let Zhang Jia out of the van. She knows their prisoner is lying, seeing right through his desperate bluff. But the man in pink sunglasses has a plan, letting him out to see what he'll do. He watches with a cool, predatory gaze, waiting for the right moment to act. Meanwhile, Zhang Jia is still recovering from his bout of violent motion sickness. His captors watch from a distance, giving him just enough rope. So thoughtful. But our boy sees this not as a weakness, but as the perfect opportunity to escape. He decides this is his moment, his one and only chance to break free. He sprints down the sidewalk, a grin of triumph on his face, only to run into a new problem. His eyes lock with a pair of glowing blue orbs, a chilling reflection of his own transformation. And he finds himself staring at a pair of pale, bare feet, a sight that is becoming disturbingly familiar. His escape is cut short by a figure made of shadow and legs, so much for a clean getaway. But it's the man in pink sunglasses who appears behind him, his smile dripping with condescension. Defeated, Zhang Jia can only agree, glancing back at the spot where the strange being stood. But the street is empty now, the mysterious figure gone as quickly as it appeared. His captor walks him back to the van, feigning concern for his well-being. And with a firm shove, Zhang Jia is unceremoniously returned to his mobile prison. The man in pink sunglasses' playful demeanor vanishes, replaced by the cold focus of a hunter. Back in the van, he urges the quiet player to hurry, the mission now officially underway. He settles into the passenger seat, his smirk doing little to calm Zhang Jia's nerves. The van lurches forward, and Zhang Jia's eyes widen in sheer, unadulterated panic. They tear through the city streets, a white blur on a dark and urgent errand. Zhang Jia begs them to slow down, but his captor just tells him to rest up. He's told they're following a guide, leaving our boy completely baffled. The man in pink sunglasses reveals their guide has been watching from the sky all along. A lone black crow soars above them, a dark omen leading them through the night. Its form is skeletal and unnatural, a grim navigator on this hunt for the damned. Their eyes in the sky are a legion of red-eyed crows awaiting their master's call. Back at the temple, the quiet player, Xiao Ye, gets an update from the field. He asks his team for a status report, wanting to know if they've found their target. The van finally skids to a halt, kicking up dust on a dark, forgotten road. Zhang Jia stumbles out, his feet hitting the cold ground as he's let out of the van. The high-speed chase has left him a nauseous wreck on the pavement. His captors, however, seem completely unfazed. Customer service is clearly not their priority. Xiao Ye gives his orders to bring the target back safely, receiving a confident reply. Their destination is a place of forgotten joy, a derelict, abandoned amusement park. Zhang Jia stares in horror, wondering what kind of nightmare he's been led into now. Zhang Jia's mind flashes back, recognizing this desolate place. He remembers seeing pale, claw-like hands on the blood-soaked ground. He recalls the hunched, shadowy figure of the being they're hunting, and those impossible blue eyes staring back from the darkness. He remembers its pale feet, standing amidst the splatters of blood. The creature is lost in that familiar void, a forest of pale, disembodied limbs. The vision shifts to an ancient ritual, led by hooded, blindfolded figures. They march in a solemn procession, carrying a heavy crimson burden. Looks like a fun parade. It's an ornate, sealed shrine, marked with a powerful ancient symbol. And the memory connects back to the present, to the creature hiding in the dark. The vision shows the creature crawling through an abyss, leaving a trail of bloody footprints. Its glowing blue eyes are wide with a terror that seems to transcend time, and that memory grounds itself in the present in this derelict amusement park.